The supernatural world has long captivated human imagination with creatures that defy natural laws and conventional understanding. Among these entities, werewolves and ghosts stand as pillars of folklore across numerous cultures, each with their own rich traditions and mythologies. However, at the intersection of these legendary beings exists a far more obscure supernatural phenomenon, the werewolf ghost. This video explores the theoretical existence of werewolf ghosts, examining their nature, origins, abilities, behavioral patterns, vulnerabilities, and the methods by which these hybrid entities might find peace and transition beyond our realm. Werewolves are legendary creatures that have appeared in countless cultural traditions, typically characterized as humans who transform into wolf-like beings during the full moon or through other supernatural catalysts. The transformation is often portrayed as painful and involuntary, representing the duality between human rationality and primal, bestial nature. Traditional werewolf lore suggests that these beings possess enhanced strength, speed, and senses, as well as the ability to recover rapidly from injuries that would be fatal to ordinary humans or wolves. Their distinctive hybrid nature places them in liminal space between humanity and animalism, making them fascinating subjects of horror literature, films, and folklore that explore themes of identity, control, and the monster within. Ghosts, by contrast, are incorporeal entities believed to be the spirits of deceased individuals who remain tethered to the physical world due to unfinished business, traumatic deaths, or strong emotional attachments. These spectral beings exist in a state between life and the afterlife, often manifesting through temperature fluctuations, electromagnetic disturbances, or visible apparitions that may appear as misty forms or more solid human-like figures. Throughout history, ghost stories have served as cautionary tales, expressions of grief, or attempts to explain unusual phenomena, with different cultures attributing various motivations and abilities to these spirits, from benevolent protection to malevolent haunting. Their persistent presence in human storytelling reflects our universal concerns about mortality, justice, and what might exist beyond death. Werewolf ghosts represent a rare and complex supernatural fusion, the spirits of werewolves who have died but remain earthbound. These entities embody a dual liminality, caught between human and wolf forms in their nature and between life and death in their existence. Unlike conventional ghosts who typically maintain the appearance they had at death, werewolf ghosts may shift between human and wolf-like apparitions, often reflecting lunar cycles even after death. Their spectral form might demonstrate translucent fur, glowing eyes in yellows or blues, rather than the traditional werewolf amber, and the ability to materialize partially or fully depending on their spiritual energy. These entities create a uniquely terrifying presence, combining the predatory nature of the werewolf with the unsettling otherworldliness of a ghost. The creation of werewolf ghosts follows distinctive patterns that separate them from ordinary human spirits. When werewolves meet violent ends, particularly deaths caused by silver, hunter intervention, or pack conflicts, their spirits may remain earthbound due to the unnaturally dual nature of their existence. Those who struggled with their lycanthropic identity in life are especially prone to becoming werewolf ghosts, as their inner conflict prevents peaceful transition to an afterlife. Ancient texts suggest that werewolves who die during transformation exist in a particularly precarious spiritual state, their souls caught between forms and thus more likely to remain as ghosts. Additionally, werewolves with powerful emotional attachments to territory, pack members, or unresolved vendettas against those who hunted them often manifest as these hybrid spirits, their supernatural nature amplifying the already strong emotions that typically create ghost hauntings. The supernatural abilities of werewolf ghosts combine and transcend the powers of both constituent entities in fascinating ways. Like conventional ghosts, they can pass through solid objects, manipulate temperatures, and influence electromagnetic fields. But they retain heightened senses from their lycanthropic nature, allowing them to track living beings across enormous distances through spiritual connections. During full moons, these entities often experience power surges that enable more dramatic physical manifestations, with some accounts describing their ability to temporarily interact with the physical world with near-corporeal strength. Folklore suggests that werewolf ghosts can induce fear responses far more intense than ordinary hauntings, triggering primal terror that resonates with the human instinctual fear of predators. Some traditions even claim these spirits can influence dreams, particularly in those with latent lycanthropic bloodlines, creating vivid nightmares of running with wolves or transforming beneath silver moonlight. The behavior patterns of werewolf ghosts reflect both lupine instincts and human emotional complexity. Many haunt territories they protected in life, becoming fiercely territorial guardians who drive away intruders through intimidation and spectral attacks. Others demonstrate pack mentality even after death, attaching themselves to living werewolves or forming spiritual pacts with other supernatural entities in shared hunting grounds. More tragically, some werewolf ghosts exhibit behavioral cycles tied to their deaths, compulsively reenacting their final moments or hunting patterns, particularly during full moons. Those who experience significant trauma or rejection because of their lycanthropic nature often display hostile behavior toward humans while showing remarkable gentleness toward animals and children, whom they sometimes adopt a protective stance toward. Their dual nature creates unpredictable haunting patterns that shift between calculated, almost human intelligence and wild, instinctual responses. Despite their formidable presence, werewolf ghosts possess distinct vulnerabilities that distinguish them from other supernatural entities. Silver remains their primary weakness, with silver dust or weapons wielded by the living capable of disrupting their manifestations temporarily or causing them spiritual pain. Mountain ash, traditionally used to contain werewolves, can create boundaries that werewolf ghosts cannot cross when properly prepared with specific rituals. Their connection to lunar cycles creates predictable patterns of strength and weakness, making them most vulnerable during new moons when their spiritual energy ebbs significantly. Interestingly, the howls of living wolves or werewolves can either strengthen or disperse werewolf ghosts depending on the intent behind the call and the ghost's relationship to the howler. Wolf's bane and certain herbs traditionally associated with exorcisms appear particularly effective against these dual-natured spirits, temporarily forcing them into a singular state, either fully wolf or fully human, that makes them more susceptible to banishment techniques. Helping werewolf ghosts find peace requires addressing both aspects of their supernatural identity through specialized rituals and resolutions. Traditional ghost-laying methods must be adapted to incorporate elements of werewolf lore, such as performing ceremonies under specific moon phases or including silver that has been blessed to heal rather than harm. Resolving the unfinished business keeping these spirits earthbound often involves reconciling the conflict between their human and wolf natures, sometimes requiring modern practitioners to facilitate symbolic acceptance of both aspects of the werewolf's identity. In cases where the ghost remains due to unjust death at hunters' hands, restoring honor through acknowledgement of the wrong done to them can provide necessary closure. Some folk traditions suggest that werewolf ghosts can find peace when a living pack member performs a ritual howl of release, symbolically freeing them from pack obligations and territorial bonds. The most compassionate approaches involve understanding the unique circumstances of each werewolf ghost's creation and crafting individualized rituals that address their specific spiritual needs. In popular culture, werewolf ghosts have emerged as niche but compelling figures in supernatural fiction, particularly in media that explores the boundaries between established monster archetypes. These literary representations emphasize the psychological horror of their existence, with protagonists who could perceive both their human grief and their wolfish rage simultaneously. The narrative function of these representations often focused on themes of liminality and the experience of being outsiders, even among other outsiders. Creatures that neither living werewolves nor traditional ghosts could fully understand or accept. Television shows featuring supernatural elements began incorporating werewolf ghosts in the 2010s, most notably in episodes of Supernatural, Teen Wolf, and the British series Being Human, where they served as episodic antagonists whose storylines explored themes of revenge, justice, and acceptance. These visual adaptations typically portrayed werewolf ghosts with distinctive special effects that combined translucent apparitions with partial lupine transformations, glowing eyes, spectral claws, or ethereal fur that materialized during emotional moments. The visual medium allowed creators to play with their dual nature through techniques like overlapping human and wolf forms, or showing transformations that paused midway, frozen between states for eternity. These portrayals often elicited both fear and sympathy from audiences, as their visual instability reflected their spiritual unrest. Role-playing games and interactive media have perhaps most thoroughly explored the concept of werewolf ghosts, with tabletop games like World of Darkness introducing specific rules for creating and playing these hybrid entities. The gaming format lets players experience the complicated nature of werewolf ghosts by using rules that show how their powers and weaknesses change with the moon, their feelings, and important places from their human lives. Digital games have followed suit, with titles like Moonlight Requiem, featuring werewolf ghost companions whose storylines can be resolved through player choices, allowing gamers to help these beings reconcile their conflicted nature or harness their unique abilities for protection against greater threats. These interactive narratives have significantly contributed to developing the mythology around werewolf ghosts by allowing audiences to engage directly with their distinctive challenges and powers. The concept of werewolf ghosts represents a fascinating theoretical convergence in supernatural lore, bridging the primal, physical transformation of lycanthropy with the ethereal, eternal nature of spirits. These dual-natured entities embody complex themes of identity, acceptance, and the search for peace that resonates across both werewolf and ghost traditions. Although purely fictional, the idea of werewolf ghosts invites us to consider more profound questions about how we reconcile conflicting aspects of identity, the nature of spiritual attachments, and what constitutes true peace for troubled souls. As with all supernatural lore, these speculative beings serve as metaphorical explorations of very human concerns: the wild within us, the persistence of memory after death, and the universal hope that even the most complex and troubled spirits might eventually find harmony and transcendence.